The room was heavy with silence after Ethan Black's lies were exposed. The weight of the confrontation still lingered, but the tension that had gripped Emily for days began to slowly ease. Ethan stood frozen, his confident facade completely shattered, realizing that the truth could no longer be hidden. Every relationship he had manipulated seemed to shift in that instant, leaving a ripple of consequences he hadn't anticipated. Emily felt a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. The anger that had consumed her was still present, but it was tempered by a growing sense of clarity. She reflected on everything she had endured, the lies, the betrayal, the manipulation, and recognized how much strength it had taken to reach this point. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to breathe and take in the reality that she had reclaimed a piece of her life. Sophie Carter approached, placing a comforting hand on Emily's shoulder. "You did what you had to do," she said softly. "It wasn't easy, but you faced it all head on. That shows more courage than most people ever have." Emily nodded, grateful for Sophie's unwavering support, realizing that having someone who truly understood her perspective had made a difference in navigating the storm. Ethan remained quiet, trying to collect himself, but the damage was done. His lies had been publicly dismantled, and the trust he had relied on was irrevocably broken. Emily watched him, feeling no satisfaction in vengeance itself, only in the clarity and empowerment that came from confronting the truth. As the initial shock faded, Emily felt a subtle calm replace the whirlwind of emotions. She knew that life would move forward differently now. The lessons were clear, and the future was hers to shape. With Sophie by her side, she took a deep breath, ready to embrace what came next, having emerged stronger and more certain of her own worth. Facing the truth was harder than anything Emily had imagined, but it taught her a lesson she would never forget. Lies and betrayal could never define her life. Standing up for herself gave her strength, clarity, and peace. She realized that courage isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming your own power and refusing to be controlled by deception. When I confronted him, he didn't panic. He smiled, explained, apologized. His words sounded genuine, and his eyes, they seemed sorry. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust him again. So I forgave. Looking back, I see how wrong I was. That forgiveness became a permission. It taught him that hurting me had no real consequence. And yet, at that moment, I convinced myself that love was about patience, about giving second chances. I stayed, swallowing the ache in my chest, hoping it would never happen again, not knowing that this would only be the beginning. The second betrayal wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. I stumbled upon it entirely by accident, a message, a hidden account, evidence he never meant me to see. This time there were no excuses, no pleading, no apologies that could convince me otherwise. The man I had trusted with my heart had been living two lives. One with me, loyal, committed, devoted, and another hidden from my eyes, filled with lies, deception, and betrayal. Every promise I clung to suddenly felt meaningless, every memory tainted. When I confronted him, the change in his tone was undeniable. He wasn't sorry, he was annoyed. He didn't regret hurting me. He regretted being caught. That's when it hit me, staying silent, forgiving him, trusting him again. All of it had been a trap. I felt a mix of anger, hurt, and disbelief. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet determination grew. This time, I wouldn't let him control the outcome. After discovering truth, I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I went silent. The storm inside me was loud, but on the outside, I appeared calm. I realized that reacting emotionally would only give him power. Instead, I chose patience and quiet observation. I started collecting evidence piece by piece. Screenshots, messages, contradictions, everything carefully documented. Every lie he had told, every promise broken, every hidden truth was recorded. I watched how he behaved around others, how he thought he was untouchable. It was hard to stay calm. Anger bubbled beneath the surface, but I knew that calm was my strength. I wasn't seeking chaos. I was seeking justice. I planned my next steps carefully. I didn't need drama to expose him. I needed timing, proof, and control. Silence became my strategy, and with every passing day, I felt stronger, sharper, and more ready to reclaim my life. The moment finally came. It wasn't private. It wasn't behind closed doors. I chose a gathering of friends and colleagues, people who respected him, people who had admired him. He stood there confident, charming, unaware of what was coming. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I asked questions. Simple, pointed, impossible to ignore questions. Dates, events, promises he had made. Each answer contradicted the last. I watched confusion spread across his face, the same confidence slipping away piece by piece. Then I revealed the evidence. Every lie, every hidden conversation, every betrayal, all laid bare. There was no way to deny it. Silence filled the room. His smile vanished. His voice faltered. People didn't shout or attack him. They just looked away, disappointed, betrayed, and unwilling to support him. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. I didn't need to watch him fall. I had already won by standing in my truth. Life didn't magically become perfect after that day. Healing isn't instant, and the memories didn't just disappear. There were nights I questioned myself, moments when I missed the version of him I had once loved. But slowly I began to feel lighter, freer, more in control of my own life. I started trusting myself again, my instincts, my decisions, my worth. I laughed genuinely for the first time in months. I reconnected with friends, pursued passions I had neglected, and learned that my happiness didn't depend on someone else's honesty or love. When he reached out later, full of apologies and excuses, I didn't respond. Closure didn't require confrontation. I had already reclaimed my power. Walking away wasn't a loss. It was a choice, a conscious decision to prioritize my dignity, my peace, and my future. In the end, I realized I didn't just survive betrayal. I emerged stronger, wiser, and unshakable. Betrayal breaks you, but it also teaches you who you truly are. It shows your strength, your boundaries, and the value of your own dignity. Forgiving someone who doesn't change only teaches them they can hurt you again. Silence and patience aren't weakness. They are tools to protect yourself until the truth is ready to come out. Walking away doesn't mean you lost. It means you chose yourself, your peace, and your self-respect. So now I ask you, what would you do in my place?